actually resulted in being dropped from the England under
Has
19s
it?
as well. So he played for the under 9 68 minutes against Italy in September. Then he played 22 minutes against Croatia. He was on the bench against Germany, and he hasn't been in the squad for Portugal, Holland, or France.
Wow.
So he's been dropped from the. So actually, his lack of game time is affecting his international slate.
So welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. And this summer was an incredible transfer market for Birmingham City. We had many great signings come in, and we also had many leave as well. But in the build-up to the season, we had quite a few players go out on loan as well, and we had a couple literally right up until that deadline day. A couple of them joined us in fellow League One clubs as well. In this video, we're going to discuss the players that went out on loan, what kind of season they're having so far, and maybe a little bit about their stats and how they're getting on. So, Dad, first on my list, if you want to get straight into it, is Tyler Roberts.
Yeah, just to mention something very quickly first. Interestingly and very coincidentally, Birmingham City put a tweet out of information about loan players. It's almost like us thinking on the same lines. We'd already done our research by then, and we thought, oh my word, we've got a video ready, and Birmingham. So it's going to look like we've come off the back of that, but that wasn't the case. I think they've actually must got wind that we were doing it, and they just copied us. But we're going to talk, as you say, these 6 loan players, and Tyler Roberts is a great one to start with, isn't he?
Yeah.
25 years old now, and he's at Northampton Town, as we know. He's played quite a lot of game time at Northampton. He's played 9 League One games. He hasn't got any goals yet, but he's got 1 assist, which was actually in the last game. He's played 2 in the EFL. So 1 in the EFL Trophy and 2 in the EFL Cup. So just so that when we do this, we see how much game time he's actually played.
Yeah.
So Wickham, he had 73 minutes. Huddersfield, 68. Mansfield, 83 minutes. Bolton, 75 minutes. Wrexham, 90 minutes. 8 minutes against Leighton Orient. I think he must have come on as a sub. 36 minutes against Stockport. 65 against Crawley. And 75 against Lincoln. So basically, he's been a first choice for them.
Yeah.
But he still hasn't scored that elusive goal. And I think this was the problem we had with him, that you had glimpses. I can remember Coventry in particularly when he played last season.
Outstanding,
where he was outstanding. I think he got a couple of assists in that game. We thought that would be the game that he would kick on, but he never really did. So I think it's right for him to go out on loan. But I'm not too sure what you think, Matt. As a striker, you are going to be judged on your goals.
Yeah, I mean, do you know where he's playing? Is he not playing as a number 10 maybe? He could be playing in the attacking midfield position.
In the first 4 games, he was a centre forward. He was attacking midfield against Wrexham. I haven't got any data about Leighton Orient or Stockport, and a centre forward against Crawley and Lincoln. Yeah. So he's on that front line.
Okay, so you want to be scoring.
Apart from one game, sorry.
You want to be scoring some goals then, don't you? Especially at the League One level, if you want to show everyone that you're capable of moving up.
Yeah.
You should be banging them in, really. But what surprised me was 9... Doesn't say he started, but appeared in 9 consecutive games. You know, when was the last time Tyler Roberts played 9 consecutive games for us without being on the injury table? It never happened. It hasn't happened, has it?
No.
What's the most he's gone in a row? 3 or 4, maybe, at one point during last season?
Well, when he first joined us last summer before, he was out. He didn't start, did he?
He played the first half against Swansea. That was our first game that season, and then he went out for like 4 months. It was a long time.
We just forgot about him because nobody thought, is he ever going to play for us? And he did come back, but I think that really disrupted him. And I think that's why he's gone out on loan. I think it's right to send him out on loan, but if I was him, I'm sure he would be wanting to score more goals. I mean, you don't forget, we can't lose sight of the fact he is in League One.
Yeah.
He is in League One, and he has got 1 assist so far in 9 games, which I would suggest that's not good enough. And I think that he needs to really. I hope he does. You know, he's our player. You know, he's on loan at them. I'd love to see him knocking the goals in.
Yeah, definitely.
Because that'll only make him a better player, or at least a more valuable player if we decide to sell him. But let's do the same again, Matt. Based upon what we've discussed for Tyler Roberts, how would you rate him? Warm, hot, or cold? So hot, warm, or cold, based upon his starts in Northampton.
I think. Can I give 2 different contexts? I think it's overall a cold because he's a forward and he's not scoring. But in some ways, I think it's a positive and it's warm because he's staying injury-free and he's playing games. And I think the biggest thing for me with Tyler Roberts is getting minutes in the legs. But I guess that's cheating having to. So if I had to overall it on his performances and what I've seen, it's going to have to be a call for me.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it simple. It's cold.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. That brings us on to our next one, Dad, and that's George Hall. Do you want me to start it, or do you want to start it?
No, please, if you want to carry on.
So he scored his first goal for them last night at the time of recording.
I know.
I saw that pop up on my feed last night, buzzing for him. I'm glad he's actually managed to get himself on the score sheet.
That was in the EFL Trophy, Trophy, wasn't it?
It was in the EFL Trophy, yeah.
Against Shrewsbury.
And I really like George Hall. I thought at one point it was a battle between Hall and Dixon in our team about who was going to get that kind of the youth player to break into the next level. 'Cause I felt like it was Jordan James that did it last. He kind of made the break up through the youth team. I thought George Hall or Dixon was going to be that next step up. And, good to see him scoring, good to see him playing. Similar to Tyler Roberts, hopefully he can stay fit, get that match practice in his legs, and I'd love to see him do well for the rest of the season with Walsall.
Well, he's 20 years old,
he's
so
young.
he's still young. He's an attacking midfielder, as we know. A few seasons ago, I don't know if you remember, we nearly lost him to Leeds United. They came in for him. I think it was
$5 million or something.
Yes, it was. Yeah, He was, I think it was in a January transfer window. But we managed to keep hold of him. My stats tell me that he hasn't had much game time at Walsall. So if I just tell you, just explain what I'm looking at. For Cheltenham, he was on the bench. This is when he first went there. MK Dons, he played 45 minutes. Bradford, he was on the bench, didn't come on. For Salford, Colchester, Fleetwood, and Chesterfield, he wasn't in the squad.
You know.
So that's where that injury possibly. Then he played 3 minutes against Grimsby, 18 minutes against Carlisle, on the bench against Accrington, and 11 minutes against Crewe. That's not a lot of game time, is it?
No, it's not.
That is probably not what he would want. I think he would expect to want to play more game time. But of course, the managers of these clubs are going to play what they feel are the best team. And you've got to still remember as well, these are still young players, so there are going to be more experienced players. They've got Charlie Lake in, haven't they, in their midfield, who they picked up from Burton, I think, Walsall, and he's an experienced midfielder. So there are experience, and they look good, against us in the EFL trophies, playing decent football.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bit of a struggle by the looks of it for him to get into that club. So I think that he would probably want more game time and has probably gone there to get that. And I don't think currently he's getting it. He's played in total 77 minutes in total in League Two. He's played 42 minutes in total in the EFL Trophy. And he's played 11 minutes in the FA Cup.
Yeah, it's poor, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's clearly struggling to straight break into the team. But to be fair, Walsall are a decent side. Because just you play for Birmingham City and you're in the youth academy doesn't guarantee you football.
Right up near the top.
Yeah,
of League Two.
absolutely.
But also as well, that goal might make a difference. That goal he scores in the EFL Trophy,
Hopefully.
they might buy him a little bit more game time. But I've categorised him as cold.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I don't think you can't not, can you?
Yeah.
If someone isn't getting much game time and only scoring that one goal, then
Yeah.
Okay, so that brings on to our next one, Dad, and that's Longhello. I know I was never a huge fan of Longhello, but you actually kind of had a little bit of a soft spot for Longhello, didn't you?
I liked him. I think defensively he was poor, and there's no getting around that. He was very risky at the back, but I liked him going forward. But that's the problem. I think we played him as a left back when I would like to have seen him played as a left winger. But I liked him in terms of his ability going forward. But I just felt that he was not a left back. So obviously he had to. He didn't get in the team, did he, last season? So far, he's at Cambridge United.
Yeah.
He's a left back, 23 years old now. So he's at that point of his career now where he has to kick on. He's not like a young lad anymore. 23 is still young, but this is it now. I believe from like 22 to 26, them are the years when you've got to push yourself on. So he's right at the start. Well, just beginning of that now. So he's played 8 League One games, scored 1 goal and 3 assists. 2 assists. That's not bad.
Yeah.
EFL Trophy, he's played 2 games and scored 1 goal. He didn't play in the FA Cup. So just so that we get an indication of how much game time he's getting. So he wasn't in the squad when he first went against Reading or Wickham. He had 19 minutes and got an assist against Blackpool, 17 minutes against Bristol Rovers, 68 minutes and a goal against Mansfield, 67 minutes against Wickham, and Lincoln, 80 minutes. He wasn't in the squad for Rotherham, 14 minutes against Exeter. Then he was on the bench for Wigan, 1 minute for Stevenage, 28 minutes against Burton, and then he wasn't in the squad for Peterborough. So he's in and out of the squad. Interestingly, he's been played in left midfield against Mansfield, Wickham and Lincoln, and they're the games that he's had the most game time.
Interesting.
Which I find interesting as well, because that clearly suggests that the manager at Cambridge, Gary Monk, quite likes him in that position because he keeps him on longer in that position than he does as a left back.
Well, he's a much better left winger than he is a left back because he's quite fast. He can take it around a player. He can score from distance. He scored that really nice goal against QPR a couple of seasons ago for us where we cut in. Really nice goal. But for us as a left back, he was too weak got shrugged off the ball too easily, allowed too many crosses in the box. For me, he just wasn't a solid all-rounded left back. But take your point, Dad. I think he's a decent left mid. It's quite nice that Gary Monk has recognised that and he's keen to play him in that position, because it'd be interesting if he came back to us as a left winger, wouldn't it? I know you've banded that a couple of times. It'd be good to see him push further up the pitch and be a bit more of a left winger. And we do have Hansen and Keshi Anderson, so it's going to be hard for him to get back into this Blues team, if I'm going to be honest.
But would you not argue that these loan opportunities are their chance to show our manager what they can potentially do? Because they'll be watching.
Yeah, that's the whole point of him, isn't it? Is to go out there and show them.
It'll do two things, Matt, won't it? It'll help Blues decide their future of these players. And if they do well on loan and we still don't fancy them, then they'll just be higher value.
Yeah.
If they have a really bad loan period, it's going to... Well, they'll be moved on.
I can say for one thing, Dad, if he wants to stick to his career as a left back, he ain't getting in over Cochrane or Buchanan when he's back fit. No. So he's got no hope in hell of getting back into the squad as a left back. So his only hope on a dream and a prayer would be left wing or left mid. But I still think we've got better quality than Angel. However, I'm not writing him off. Let's see what he does for the rest of the season. And if he comes back to us strong, that's great. And absolute worst case, I think we got a good deal with him. I think West Ham let him go for way cheaper than they should have, if I'm honest. They sold him to us for, was it $1 million? Less than that.
Like 800 grand.
800 grand.
I believe it's something like that.
So yeah,
I only on the basis of his goals. Again, I think he could do with a little bit more game time. In fact, in the last 7 games, so obviously he played that left wing where he got all those minutes. Then after that, the last 7 games, after those games, not in the squad for Rotherham, 14 minutes against Exeter, on the bench against Wigan, 1 minute against Stevenage, 28 minutes against Burton. So he's had very little game time after that flurry of left wing position. So I don't know what's going on there. Maybe somebody was injured and they've come back now. I don't know. So I think that he's tailed off a little bit already in the short time he's been there, and he needs to improve. Yeah. Only on the basis of the goals he's scored. He's got 2 goals and 2 assists. And he's going, I'll put him down as warm, but I think it's on the cusp of cold.
Yeah, I would say cold.
Yeah.
I think you have to take both sides in. His personal performances and the team he's playing for's performances as well, don't you? And the fact that Cambridge are having a struggle this season, he's in and out of the team. For me, I think that signals a bit of a cold.
Yeah, okay. I can't disagree with that. I looked at the goals. I thought, for an actual left back or sometimes playing left wing, 4 goals in.
Or should we both meet in the middle and go lukewarm?
let's not create extra calories. Okay? Let's keep it simple. Let's just both agree on cold.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. Then
tepid.
Okay,
then that brings on to Romelle Donovan. I mean, again, similar to George Hall, got his first. Well, George Hall wasn't his first professional goal, but Donovan got his first professional goal last night for Burton, which was really nice to see. So yeah, I think Donovan is the one for me who I'm going to throw in the Jordan James category. I don't want to sell Donovan. I want him to come back. He's so young. Yeah. He's still got so much development to do, so much growth to do. I think we could he could grow with this team. He's the one or two of these loanees I seeing who could grow with this club and grow with Chris Davies. And I thought he had a great pre-season. I was actually quite surprised to see him go out on loan. And with the way sometimes Blues, at this moment, we haven't got that killer instinct. We need to go at teams more. Imagine throwing Donovan on. I think he'd give you a slightly different outlet. I mean, fair enough. I know he needs to bulk up and get a little bit more meat on the bones. But I like Donovan. I'm just making that point that I think he has got a big future. And I'd like to see Donovan come back strong with a couple of goals under his belt and a bit more match practice.
I think it's his age. I think he's 17. I think that's why he's gone out on loan. As you said, the League One is very physical, although he's playing in League One with Burton. But then look where they are in the league.
Exactly.
He's a right winger, isn't he? He's gone out there. But I think, let me tell you how much he's played. I think the Blues have raised an issue with this. I think they're not happy that he's not getting much game time. Effectively, he's had 6 game contributions in League One, 2 in the FL Trophy, counting last night, and 1 in the FA Cup. So basically, not in the squad against Northampton, 10 minutes against Rotherham, 17 minutes against Barnsley, 27 minutes against Blackpool, 71 minutes against Reading, where he's used as an attacking midfielder, and then 28 minutes against Bristol Rovers. But then the last 5 games, Bolton, Wickham and Cambridge not in the squad.
Right.
Then he had 23 minutes against Crawley, and then the last game against Shrewsbury in the league not in the squad.
Wow.
So he's obviously been used as a substitute as most of those games, but he's obviously missing out on the match day squad as well. So I think he needs more game time. He does, and clearly, even for a struggling team like Burton, you think that he would be a good player to put on, an impact player, but clearly hasn't worked. I mean, he got his first goal, but he hasn't got a league goal yet. You're talking about a goal in the EFL Trophy, aren't you?
Yeah, and his first professional goal.
His first professional goal.
goal.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there's no doubt, and I agree with your points, there's no doubt that he has got ability, and I think he is one for the future. I think we should keep him. And I
think he's a
think
great
that
player.
this is just part and parcel of his development because he's 17, so
Yeah, of course.
he's got so many years of development ahead of him. And,
course he has.
and this is going to strengthen him and mentality-wise, physically-wise, and give him a different perspective. So, yeah, it could be the making of him, this could, even though, as we've seen, he's not really played many minutes.
I'd love to see it. I think he's a great player. I think he's the one out of this list who really excites me to come back and hopefully grow with us as a club, a bit like the Jordan James story. And yeah, fair play to him. Hope he has a good season. And maybe that he's been coming off on the bench. And we mentioned League One, we mentioned physicality. Maybe he's just been booted into Rose Ed and he's just struggling to find that competitive edge down at this level. Because we know Championship's a bit more technical, League One's a bit more physical. So who knows? Maybe we should check in with Burton fans and see what they think about Donovan and be interesting to get their thoughts and input as well.
Yeah, I'll put him as a cold.
Yeah, cold as well.
You can't not because of the lack of game time. One final point on Romelle Donovan going to Burton as well has actually resulted in being dropped from the England under-19s as well. So he played for the under-9 68 minutes against Italy in September. Then he played 22 minutes against Croatia. He was on the bench against Germany, and he hasn't been in the squad for Portugal, Holland, or France. Wow. So he's been dropped from the. So actually, his lack of game time is affecting his international selection.
That's a shame because he was doing really well at the under-19 level for England as well. So,
but it just shows you how your form is monitored, and that's not doing him any favours. I don't know what the agreement is with Burton, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a callback there.
I wonder, with his age, would it not just be worth him playing in our under-19s ourselves?
That's what I'm saying. I think we might see a callback. If they don't feel he's getting enough game time, it's not helping him at all, is it? So
if anything, it's holding him back. If he's getting knocked out of the,
I think that's a good shout. I think we will end up putting him in our under-21s or our under whatever.
Keep him at Blues for a couple of years or two.
Give him some more game time, and then when he's a bit bigger and stronger,
loan him out at 2021 if you need to. But I think by then he might have made some moves at Blues anyway. Who knows? Yeah. But I think that kid's got a really bright future, and I was really impressed with him pre-season.
Yeah.
So that brings us on to Junior Dixon.
Junior Dixon, a lot of Blues fans last season were seeing how many goals he was banging in for our under 21s or 23s, whatever level it was, and they were calling for him to in a season when we were struggling in the Championship. But just get him in. But I think we'll see that he is a goal scorer. He does score goals, but he's playing at the moment in the National League for Boreham Wood.
Yeah,
he's 20 years old and clearly he's a centre forward, but he's getting some game time. So this is good news. So. I'm not going to go through every game because they've played a lot of games. He's played or contributed to 14 games in the National League and scored 4 goals. Mm-hmm. That's okay. Yeah. It's okay. It's not brilliant, but it's okay. He is getting, for the first 3 games, he didn't get more than 20 minutes against Bath, Chesham and Dorking. And then he started to get a bit more game time. He had 66 minutes against Weymouth, 82 minutes against Maidstone, 90 minutes against Worthing, 90 minutes against Hampton and Richmond, 77 minutes against Welling, Chippenham 83 minutes, 45 against Weston-super-Mare, 90 against Hornchurch, 72 against Eastbourne and 63 against Farnborough. So he's playing a lot of football. I think Blues will be happy with that. The National League as well, as you know, it's just the one league below League Two. So there's going to be a very competitive league, and clearly they see him as a first choice striker. I don't think that's a bad return. 4 goals in 14 games. He scored 2 against Weymouth early on, 1 against Welling, and he scored 1 a few games ago against Farnborough. Mm-hmm. So he's obviously a goal scorer, and I think he's doing okay.
Well, I remember watching the Wrexham documentary not too long ago, Dad, and it covered when they were in the National League. Some of those centre halves are absolute savages, really physical blokes who just chop you down left, right, so. If anything, I think it's a compliment to be scoring goals at that level at his age because of the physical discrepancy or even like the aggressive discrepancy maybe. I don't know, like there's something about that level where they are just either you're getting past me or the ball is, but you ain't getting past me together and one of you's going into Rose Ed. Like it's that kind of mentality down there.
But
like kind of dog eat dog.
I think with him though, mate, he's 20 years old, but he's already got quite a stocky frame.
He's tall as well, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's 6 foot, like 6'2" or something.
He's tall, yeah. But he's got quite a stocky frame, so he doesn't look like a 20-year-old.
No, he doesn't.
He looks a little bit older, doesn't he?
I think that's why Blues fans were calling for him to come into the squad last season, just because of that. He actually had more physical elements to him than what arguably your average 20-year-old does. So, I like to see him scoring goals. I think again, I don't know how true this is. There's rumours behind, about his attitude, maybe the way he carries himself in training or carries himself at the team. But I think, if you've got maybe like an attitude problem or however you want to phrase that, I think the National League's perfect because you're just going to get out there and have game time, aren't you? Just forget about all that, concentrate on your football. And fair play to him, at least he's scoring some goals.
He is, and he's getting loads of games as well. So obviously, clearly they see him as a first-choice striker. So that's good. I've categorised him as warm.
Same.
If he'd got a few more goals, I might have put that as hot, but I think he's doing okay. He's getting great experience. And I think he's one of the only success stories of our loan players that we've come across. So,
So Longello's tepid, Dixon is boiling water.
We're not going to introduce new categories. Okay.
How ridiculous can you take the levels of warmth and cold? So last but no means least, Dad, that brings on to Josh Home.
Yeah, another young player who has gone out on loan. He's at Gateshead in the National League. 19-year-old central midfielder. He was the captain last season of our under 21 squad. And I saw him in pre-season for a couple of games. He got some game time against Paderborn, definitely. And obviously the club decided now for his development, he's in a place to go out on loan. So the news isn't great in terms of his game time in the National League. I know he's played a few games in the Cup, but in the National League, he's literally played 1 minute.
Yeah, it's not good, is it?
1 minute, and that was against Sutton United. All the rest, in fact, actually, he's only been on the bench in 3 games, and one of those games he came on right at the end for 1 minute.
Yeah.
The rest is not even in the squad. So I think Blues will look at that because he's not developing at all there.
Yeah.
So the whole point of sending our young lads out on loan is that they get a bit of experience.
Absolutely.
He's getting none there. So again, I think like Romelle Donovan, the club might review that. It depends on the agreement they got, because if it's a season-long loan, they might not have an option to bring him back.
Yeah, but surely you can pull them if there's genuine reasons to pull them back, regardless of.
It depends on the agreement, Matt, because a loan deal is a contract. So
of course.
It depends on what.
There has to be something in the contract though that says, if this player isn't getting enough game time, we have the right to call them back down to our discretion or something. But who knows?
Well, to be honest, it works both ways as well. Because Gates said we might argue, well, we're not using him anyway, so we might as well have him back.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. He can't stay there not playing any games. He played 1 minute. He played a couple of cup games, but the top game time. In cup games. But that is poor. So he's I've actually created a category very cold.
Yeah, freezing. No, definitely.
It's cold. He's cold.
I mean that's worse than cold. That is freezing. 1 minute.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with him in January. But I think we'll see him coming back. I do.
Yeah.
There's a few others as well. I just want to name drop. We've picked those 6 to focus on, but obviously Blues fans will know that we have got other young lads out on loan as well. So I just want to briefly just drop a few names and just give a very quick overview of how they're doing. So we've got Tommy Fogarty, 20-year-old centre back. He's at Dunfermline in the Scottish Championship. He's doing all right. He's been involved in 7. Scottish Championship games, getting plenty of game time, 90 minutes, 43, 90. Last few games it's tailed off a little bit where he's been on the bench, but that's decent experience for him. Then we've got Ben Beresford, 19-year-old centre forward. He's at Kidderminster Harriers. He's doing well. He was doing well to start with. He got 5 games where he was getting 70 minutes. So 4 games, 70 minutes plus. Then he wasn't in the squad for about 8 games, which could be an injury, because he back after that for 2 games, Curzon, Ashton and Farley Athletic, where he's getting game time again. So he's doing okay. And this one here is Laith Fairney. I think a lot of Blues think highly of this lad. He's 19 years old, centre-back. He's at Rushall Olympic.
Okay.
In the National League North. And he played 90 minutes every game. So obviously they clearly are using him as a centre back as well. And also just one final mention, I noticed a news article today about a move that happened yesterday. Josh Williams, right back, 21 years old, he's just gone to Gateshead on loan. So
I saw that.
He only signed yesterday. So I hope they use him more than Josh Home as well. But so we've got some good young players out there on loan. And as you can see, I think it's fair to say that the vast majority of them are cold. They're not doing very well at the moment.
It's a shame, really, isn't it? Because you want to see a young talent go out there and get experience. And the fact that some of them aren't playing and could be questioned whether they're being utilised in the right ways. As you said, we're a smart club, especially with Wagner at the realm now and how much focus they're putting on the club for youth development, give all the contracts, all those things. They're going to have their finger on the pulse. Yeah. And I have no doubt if Blues are uncomfortable with what's happening or there's any dint in their performance or in expectations of growth, they'll call them back. If they can.
Yeah. So that's it really. That's the players we want to look at. We might, maybe much later in the season, we'll have another look
Yeah, yeah.
and see if there's been any change or improvements. But at the moment, I think it's fair to say that it's quite
Yeah.
disappointing what's happening with the players on
I
loan.
agree. Yeah, it'd be interesting to have a look at this around sort of late January, early February.
Yeah, I think so. Round
Like
about that time.
after the break, after the Christmas break, because you get a big run up of fixtures, don't you?
Yeah,
And
maybe when the season is like 30 games in or something
yeah,
like that.
absolutely.
That'll give us much more of a flavour.
Have another little review of that. Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds good.
Yeah.
So as always, Blues fans, we'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on what we just discussed about some of the loan players? Are you a bit disappointed like we are to see a little lack of game time, players not really making the impact we thought they may have? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. We love getting around to those and engaging with all you Blues fans in the community. And if you like this video specifically, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up and check us out on our social media channels. We have an X page, we have an Instagram page, and you can also listen to us over on Spotify now as well. And if you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of our future uploads and you get notified immediately when one gets released. And myself and Dad will see you on the next video all about Birmingham City.